committee meeting for April 12th to order. Appears that we do not have a quorum, so we can meet, but we can't vote on anything without a quorum. But before I get started, just a short announcement. You may hear some noise or scrunching outside the building, outside the walls. There's construction workers was working on the net that began coming apart. And they're doing some repairs on that net around that hanging around the building. And this is the only time, the fastest and the only time that we can get them here. And so I don't expect that to be very disturbing to us. But if you hear anything, that's what's going on outside. Okay. Okay, moving to our agenda. Can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Decker, Ms. Hires, Mr. McCellum.
Here.
Ms. Janet Moses, Ms. Melinda Moses, Ms. Spivey, Mayor Witt,
Here.
Mr. Jefferson,
Here.
Mr. Dial,
Here.
Mr. Coberline.
Here.
Okay.
And Mr. Dial is not a member of the board.
Pardon me?
I was asked whether Mr. Dial was a member of the board to constitute a quorum, and he is not a member of the board.
No.
He's an advisor. Oops, airplane.
Do we even take action on the minutes and things like that if we don't have a quorum?
No.
Okay.
We can't approve the minutes either. Okay. So we'll move down to public comments then. Are there any comments from the public that would like to address this committee?
Yeah, we will wait. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I know you can't take any action. My comments would have been the same had you had a quorum. And that is, the item that's on the agenda, I'm wondering why it's on the agenda, given that the city council met as the official CRA board last week, the week before last, when it was. And in that meeting, the CRA board took action and indicated that they wanted the digital sign to be constructed within the budgeted amount of $45,000 and at the location at the corner of Wilson and Long and Marion Street. So I'm just curious as to.
This is different signs.
How?
This is the signs for the park and the welcome signs, right?
Well, I'm looking at the agenda page, man.
No.
You got a copy, a print out of the digital sign.
Simon Jerry
On the
Paul.
very back page,
So the whole thing's about.
it says signage and the presenter.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not talking about the digital sign, then I can take my seat.
No, this is the one that we're referring to. Thanks.
Okay, so I guess the question then is, why are we talking about it if it's already been decided on? What's the reason bringing it back for the advisory board if in fact, not if, but the city council voted
Right.
to proceed with the sign? I think Mr. Sampson made the motion and I think Mr. Hill seconded to go ahead with the sign as budgeted up to $45,000. So I guess the question is why is it back before the advisory board? Because the people who make the decision already made the decision.
Right.
I think that decision was made on the amount to be spent on it. I think it said not to exceed, was it 45,000? I believe it was that motion. But we had concerns about the cost of the sign, and I think we asked Mr. Bryan, he said that possibly the cost of it had gone up since we initially got the quotes from that company, and we wanted to identify, the changes in the cost. But you're correct that the council did vote to move forward with the sign, but we did not have the correct, amounts that what it was going to cost. And I think that was the issue.
I think Brian said that they were sticking with the old contract, right?
No, sir. Both signs went up quite a bit. First sign is $47,000. The second sign is $43,000. Just right below the budget. And then If we don't approve it pretty quick, it's gonna go.
On your document, it said the $43,000.
We signed it originally.
I guess I'm still confused, Mr. Jefferson, in terms of why we even having this discussion at the advisory committee level when the CR as a board has already approved it. I mean, what is it that can you all do at this point? It's already been approved. The city council already approved it. It's in the budget. So I don't see the need for this discussion.
Well, I think was going to give the board the cost of the sign, even though they set the limitation amount, we were going to give them the cost, what it was going to cost. We did not have that, the specific cost. And that's what we asked Mr. Bryan to get the specific cost so that that can be relayed to, if it exceeds the 45,000 or whatever it is that we appropriated for it. But then we have an issue there, hopefully that it will not, but we did not know. And that's my way of thinking, that was the reason that Mr. Bryan was asked to bring us a true number.
So we don't have a quorum tonight. Is it gonna be necessary? I guess I'm trying to speed this process along. Is it gonna be necessary to have another advisory committee meeting just to get the quote? I mean, it seems to me that Mr. Bryan or the interim city manager could present to the full council, to the CR meeting and say, this is the price, $43,000. Bringing it back before the advisory committee, it seems to be a redundancy and a waste of time.
Mr. Jefferson? Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, it's my understanding that the agenda item is referring to item 3 from the last meeting that says the committee discussed signage color and concurred for Ms. Durkin to work with Brian Scott on colors and bring them back at next meeting. That's what I anticipated. I can understand now, having looked at it with different eyes, I understand the confusion in the way it's written on the agenda page.
Yeah.
Page 3 of the previous minutes also says that the members concurred to have Mr. Scott research what else could be purchased. And that implicit there is come back at the next meeting also. I apologize for the interruption, but yeah, I agree there is confusion in what's on the front page of the agenda and what's in the minutes of the last meeting, item 3, page 2.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, so the action that was taken by the CR board at the last meeting, the full city council, is that action,
That would supersede,
okay, so then it's been finalized.
well, except that the issue about colors and things like that were left outstanding, unless they were decided on the contract. I was not at that city council meeting.
Well,
Those two were.
if I remember correctly, Mr. Sampson motion included the location of what we're talking about now, unless somebody heard it differently.
No, you're right.
Okay. Original question, if we're gonna be talking about this again, I just wanna keep up, I'm 72 years old, so I'm trying to keep up with these Tuesdays and whatever with me. I'm trying to follow it, but it's to the point now, Mr. Chairman and Mayor, that, if we in the community not paying attention, then things start happening and we don't know nothing about it. So if it's been put to bed and all the interim city manager need to do is say, Brandon came back with the numbers, it's $43, it does not exceed the amount,
Right.
then all the CRA board got to do, what the city council got to do is instruct Mr. Dow to proceed with the contract and put up the sign. I mean, having some more discussion among this committee don't serve any useful purpose as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Chairman.
You may.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Sylvester Warren. I guess my concern is the way that I heard the motion, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, and Chairman, you were there as well, is that when the motion was made, it was as long as it came in under the $45,000, there was marching orders to carry out that assignment. Right. The only way you don't carry out that assignment is if it exceeded the $45,000. So at this point, Mr. Sampson made a motion to go with the quote the city currently has and not to exceed the cost of $45,000, and Mr. Hill seconded the motion. And so I think somebody needs to tell Mr. Scott to go ahead and order the sign. I think that was the motion. I'm not saying that you don't do whatever you decide to do as a chairman with this committee. I just don't want it to delay any further. Being in construction, just being in this economy, today price is not tomorrow price. That's my biggest concern. For the $43,000 sign turns around and exceed the $45,000, then we're back to square one. I just don't want to be in that situation. Then the podium and the dices become conflictual.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we can listen to Mr. Scott and let him tell us where we're at and see if it's within the budget, then we can move on.
Well, that was my only concern, to make sure as far as from this committee that we've done, he done what we asked him to do, that we make sure that we maintain below, the budgeted amount. And we didn't have that at the time. I understand the motion that he made, and he said as long as it does not exceed that amount. We did not know that amount at that particular time. And so it's below that amount, so we can move forward with it, I would think.
So you're saying this is a housekeeping concept? Like you just want to know that he was a good person and did.
No, and not whether he was a good person, he done what we asked him.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, that's what I mean. And like he did what you asked him to do. So you want him to come back to this board and check in and say, hey, look, we got the sign done for under the amount that we agreed on.
Well, if the board was actually looking for the support of the committee, yeah, I felt that this committee needed to know what that true amount was so that we can support and give that, make sure that.
I'm confused, because you sit on the board that made the decision, and you know how much the sign is. Brian presented at the CRA as well, but anyway, that's fine. I mean, you're the chairman of this board. We're moving on. Brian got the marching orders, so this would just be some type of formality for this committee, is the way I understand it, correct?
Let's hear from Mr. Brian, see what he has to add, in addition he has to add.
I really don't have nothing to add. We bid our quoted 2 signs. The first sign coming at 47,000, so it was more. The second sign that we quoted come in right a little over 43,000. So that's the one I sent out to Ms. Phillips, and she sent it all to y'all. But it's the same sign. It's just the LED bowls get just a little bit bigger, which one was 4 on the ground, one was 4 in the air. The one that we got in the air is what we wanted anyways. But like I said,
We don't move it, go up.
he contacted me this morning. They only hold on these prices for a short time, and he don't know when they go up. Like I said, between last time and this time, it went up, a little over 7%. And it's construction material will keep going up.
Well, at the CRA, we voted to move forward if it was under the 45, so I think he's right to go ahead and order it, if I'm not mistaken, before it does go up.
I agree. It's under, and that's what we want to make sure that it was under that. If it's under, we can move on, move forward with it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
oh, if I could, I know, since we don't have a quorum, we can't take action on this. I just want to be certain, before, we move forward. I know it's already been approved, so we can do that. But I just wanted to ask Brian, this sign on the back, is that going to be representation of what's going to be down there? And if it is that something that's going to be applicable to everybody's agreeable to it?
The only thing that I wasn't sure of, like, as I stated from the time this started, is now these colors are just colors I picked out. I mean, we can change the greens, the whites, anything. I just need to know before I order the sign.
yeah.
Well, that's what I want to try to get.
And
Make sure, Mr. Chairman, that if this is the kind of sign, and
Yes,
if
sir.
there's a cover or two that needs to be changed, though we've already been by the CRA, that we can move forward. And if we want to go ahead and do this, so we can make sure the price is well attended, everyone is good with the cover and the sign that's being presented, so we can
The
go.
way
ahead
it's
and move
set up top there with Sunny May Park, it's supposed to say established. I think it's 1997. I just need to make sure that's the right date that y'all want on it. Like I said, and basically, if somebody can pick the color today, then that way I can get this to procurement, we can get this taken care of and get it done.
Brian, you and Mr. Bowden can pick the colors before y'all leave. I like that.
Y'all pick the colors?
Yeah.
I just designed the sign.
He got away, he do not communicate
I
about
say
it.
enough trolls, so I'm gonna let y'all pick your colors and y'all just tell me what you want. But yeah, this is the whole, how the sign's gonna be, like I said, the pole cover. And later on, if you ever decide you wanna put something on this right here, you know, you can always add stuff to there too, like park hours or, you know, anything that you wanna add to the front and back of it. So it'll be 5 foot off the ground.
Well,
Excuse me,
go ahead, you may.
is that the price of the sign installed? Or
Yes, sir, that's-
did he install that sign?
No, sir. We, went ahead and decided to go with having a professional company do it because there's so many ins and outs. If we install it, something, concrete gives, rebar moves or something like that, we're gonna be liable for this sign falling in the middle of Marion Street, and I just don't think the city needs to be liable for it. Not saying the city crews can't do it, but I've dealt with these signs before, and like I said, if something happens, they're gonna send in engineers, have certain specs of where they want that rebar in the ground, how deep, how wide, where the pole sits. It's all engineered and designed that way.
Well, I think we decided in one of our previous meetings that that's the route that we
The
wanted
only
to
thing we
go.
will respond to, which there's conduit out there now, is just pulling the wire from the panel box to the sign itself, and the sign company hooks it all up. And then there's a webinar training that they set up with IT, and then they program it and do what they gotta do with it.
Okay. The next thing, Brian, in this quote here, the thing that the customer, meaning us, is responsible for, are we able to get all those, you okay with all that?
We're responsible for is stuff that's normal for us. That's what I'm saying, pulling the conduit's already out there in that general area, just running maybe a little farther here or there, once the concrete gets in, and pull the power from the panel box to there. We have electricians on, if we need to use them, but other than that, that's pretty much, you know, there's not a whole lot for the city to do.
Okay. Well, I don't have any problem with the sign, I mean, the coloring of the sign. I feel like we need to, here in this meeting today, choose a color so that Brian gives him everything that he need to work with, because I don't see any need for it to come back before us for any reason.
Yeah, I would like to that way,
Color.
get the contract, and I'll submit it to procurement, and then they can take it from there with the coordination with the company that they're paying. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have no expertise on sign color, but it just seems to me, the city color scheme seems to be blue and white. The trucks are blue, the cars are blue, you know, that right there is blue. But it just seems to me that blue and white would be consistent with what seems to be the color scheme for the city. I don't know if that's official or not, but I know all your vehicles blue, not all of them, but most of them are blue. You know, every time I see a sign or anything printed by the city of Lake City, they got blue and white. And, now you can tell me, I accept her opinion too as well, Ms. Phillip, you know.
If we did blue and white, would the white
White being a letter,
be the
White
letter,
letter.
and the blue would be the background?
yeah, Sally Mae Jerry Park would be blue,
Do you want this white, and then stay white back here,
yeah,
and then this stays white down here too?
Yeah.
And then inside May would be in blue.
exactly. Then if you put anything under the sign, that's a white part, then that be blue.
Perfect.
I'm good then. While I'm up here, the other signs that we keep referring to, they're still out for the company we was gonna give them done because we want so much bigger signs that they don't make, but construction signs like that size, 36 by 36. So I'm still waiting on quotes. Everybody's still way behind on quoting and getting me quotes on everything. So I'm still waiting on the welcome to Lake City sign and the park signs.
Yeah.
So
Everybody behind.
So Brian, I mean, we have everything in order, everything we need to move forward with the sign, because.
yes, sir, I'll go back and email him tonight, tell him what we want to change on the sign, and then I'll get everything through to Ms. Neal tomorrow, and she'll contact him with the pricing or the payment, I guess, and however that works.
Okay.
I don't have to bring it back for resolution. Do I need to do a resolution for council or anything?
No.
For council, I mean?
Don't have to come back before us.
Okay, we'll make sure.
Is there anything else to be brought before this committee? That's the only topic item that we have. If not, We adjourn until our next meeting on May 10th.
Good job.